The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hal Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it. Tuesdays here at Hal Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and you will jump in. Get your comments in the stream, Hal Varsity YouTube, where you can watch the show. Give us a like and follow. Tell a buddy. Hal Varsity YouTube at Varsity Radio, where you can check things out on Twitter. Give that a follow. Elijah Herbel at Herbal Essence Hilarity. Quite frankly, with his account at Schmidt_radio, I'm trying. I'm a work in progress on the Twitter sphere, or X, 489-1240. Numbers to get in, 800-825-5865. We're visually and physically turning that page to Purdue Pete, the choo-choo train, the giant drum, Seabass, and the Boilermakers. And still some thoughts. We'll hear from all the coordinators. A Tuesday full of accountability from Tony White and some of the players. We'll get some of their comments here in a little bit. And we'll check in with Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Mitch will join the show here in about 15 minutes. In hour two with Husker 24/7. Michael Bruntz back with us. And then Tom Dienhart with On3 and goldandblack.com. We'll get his feel on Purdue and also Nebraska, and a little bit broader picture on the Big Ten. It's fair to say, with Nebraska's performance Friday, there's question marks moving forward, not only about this weekend, but also the Rutgers game, Indiana, and yes, Ohio State. You're going into a pretty important part of the schedule. If you're Nebraska football, you want to get to 6 or beyond win-wise, or maybe hit that ceiling that a lot of us thought could be possible with the offseason. We'll get to an email here, too, from a longtime listener and disgruntled Husker fan. But, Elijah, how we doing? You showed up to work, T-shirt and shorts. You were game ready, and I like it. I got a sweatshirt on because it's a little chilly in here. That's okay. All that being said, I'm glad none of us did the Joe Burrow tribute today as we walk in. Joe's hair, whatever, all good. He can pull it off. Monday Night Football was a shootout. The other LSU quarterback, Heisman winner, won. Yep. Feel bad for Zach and company. But
Jaden Daniels, wow.
Yeah, lots of season left. Guy that we're big fans of, Cam Taylor-Britt, has kind of ran his mouth the last couple of weeks, got beat deep, and uttered something about a high school or college offense. Put up 38 points.
And then he doubled down after the game.
But then he was like, well, there wasn't any disrespect. Well, you know, a little bulletin board material never hurt nobody.
As Scott Frost found out, it felt like yearly at Nebraska, the intent of disrespect does not matter.
No, we're going to jump onto it, right? Just like old Dion did. But what's going on with Joe?
Can I just say, Joe Burrow?
Seriously, I mean,
I have very simple advice for Joe Burrow.
Was he wearing a vest and a bunch of cargo pockets, and then was it a pink or a salmon T-shirt? I mean, Joe's got so much money. We talked to Joe's dad from time to time. Love him, and we're big Joe Burrow fans, man. Just the gear, though, the outfit. I'm not asking him to not make himself happy.
That's a stylist. Let's be clear.
But no.
NFL money, you were spending a lot of money on a stylist. Based on last night's outfit, I would say
fire the stylist.
Take that money that you're spending on a stylist, buy yourself 15 to 20 really cool bowling shirts.
And just tribute Elijah Herbel on Tuesdays.
Just go bowling shirts. See, it's no bowling shirt for me today. I am taking the night off at bowling this week. It was a rough performance. Rough game 3 last week. I've been into my own head about it. And, you know, kind of like the Husker defense, you have to put things behind you and commit back to the fundamentals. And I wasn't ready to do that tonight. So
okay.
I didn't have the mental space this weekend to really focus on myself like I wanted to. It was a busy week of hosting and Husker football and NFL. So
you just needed a little downtime.
I didn't get a chance, as Isaac Gifford said, to get away from everything for a day like he did on Saturday. We'll get to that a little bit later. I didn't have a chance to do that, so I'm trusting my brother. I'm trusting my father. They're going to carry the bowling team tonight, and the bowling shirt remains in the closet, meaning Joe Burrow, it's available. If you want to go with the bowling shirt outfit, it's great. Women love it, 100%. They have never said anything bad about it before, ever. Stream listeners always love the bowling shirt.
They shout it out.
Tons of compliments. I'm sure none of those tongue-in-cheek, so Joe Burrow, that's what I'd roll with.
I mean, and Joe's done a lot for the community. Send me Sat and Tony if you could too. The reality is Joe has donated a ton of money to the food bank of Athens. He is so good about giving back to folks less fortunate. So Joe's heart's big time in the right place. I'm just not getting the vibe or the style. And Kelsey, Travis goes with some outlandish stuff from time to time, but if you're going to show it off, dude, I think the Brady look is clean. Now, sometimes it got a little weird with, the turtleneck or Bond villain look, but for the most part, it was an expensive suit. MJ would rock an expensive suit and then probably throw it away because he could. You wear that suit once, apparently, if you're Michael Jordan, because you can. But I just wasn't feeling it last night. I had to do a triple take and watching some NFL. For
everyone that complains about Dylan Raiola dressing just like Patrick Mahomes, it could be worse. At least he's not dressing like Joe Burrow.
If Nebraska was rocking a style, what is that on defense right now? If we're to equate their last two performances to a style, what is it? Is it a thrift store suit that you think looks nice and it's the price is right?
Well, if we're talking style of play, I think you could equate it to like 2019 Ohio State.
No.
They have all the players to play well, and you go, why aren't they playing well? I don't know. That was a little harsh. But the style is... I got to find a way to say this without being too harsh. It's probably me right now.
Don't care?
No, I put a great thought into this outfit today, Schmidt.
It was clean.
I grabbed my best pair of ratty shorts and a Carhartt shirt.
My cleanest dirty shirt,
that's
said
where I was
Johnny
going.
Cash.
I'm wearing the Carhartt shirt.
Sure.
I'm not a Carhartt guy.
Well, you've worked outdoors, though, with your dad doing housing
That's
stuff.
exactly what I'm saying. I'm not somebody...
You're an OG Carhartt guy.
I am not...
You wore it because it was warm.
I am not somebody, though, who is like the true work with your hands every single day kind of Carhartt guy.
But
do I have the ability? Yeah, I have the ability, but I'm not working with my hands.
Well, I'm a total poser. I've never thought about climbing a mountain. It's just that the North Face crap that was cool 10, 12 years ago, I still have.
So you're more of a poser than the Husker defense.
Big time.
This is where I'm saying, do I have the ability to work with my hands? Have I shown it before? Yes. Am I wearing Carhartt today with no intention today of working with my hands and getting down and dirty? Also,
You've
yes.
seen me walk in altitude. It's an asthma attack waiting to happen.
And that's what you're a poser. I wouldn't call myself a poser, but the outfit today does not fit what I have planned for my day today. And that's the Husker defense for me. They've shown that they can do it.
They need to change of clothes.
They have shown that they can be Carhartt guys defensively, but right now they're wearing the Carhartt and they're not doing Carhartt things.
Wonderfully put. Grateful Red is in the stream. Jeff Snitley back at it. Second, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty. Jack is back. Good to have you. Real Matthew is here. Brian says, I'll be back. Love it. KG is here. Says, fifth. Yes, I timed it correctly. Ha ha ha, I knew it. I dreamt of it. Prophecy complete. Black Hills Brandon's here. Eat Beef checks in. NASCAR Eric is here. Coach Brandon is back. Uncle Larry is in. Mr. Erickson is here, along with James Williams. What's up, Husker Nation? Brent is here. Arlo back at it. Bruce from Spearfish. Ready for another great show. Bruce, you are too kind. Tiger Shark Diver says, aloha, ... Spicoli. I'm adding the Spicoli part. Jeff is here. Mudflaps asks the question or throws out an accusation. I bet Elijah's been to a Diddy freak-off.
Oh, whoa now. Whoa now. That is a baseless accusation if I've ever heard one.
That's so bad.
That's terrible.
Anonymous, things I'd rather not ponder. What things would look like next week if they lose to Purdue. Justin is here. Vince checks in. Jay is here. Good to have you. And Brian is here. Brian making suggestions about what parties Burrow has been to. No, I don't believe that. The other Elijah, the other Elijah is in. Thank you, Elijah. Says, my day just got better. This isn't you. This is the other Elijah.
Yeah, Lord knows my day doesn't get better when I see you.
That's right. Yep, got to put in 2 hours. Let's hear from Tony White. Tony White earlier today talked about the team's response here. Cut one. How's the practice week been in this short week of practice? How's the guys come back?
Well, they, coach challenged them first, number one, and then number two, you could tell by the amount of guys who were around the building at last night and all that stuff that they weren't happy with it. You know what I mean? So they went out there and handled business, and it was really just seeing how they're taking ownership of it. You know what I mean? Like, just, hey, let me see how you guys want to handle this. So they went out there and competed, and it was good to watch them run around.
Okay, so that's the coordinator. MJ Sherman had a bit of an edge to him. And how did he think the team bounced back at practice? We'll hear a little bit right now from MJ Sherman, one of those leaders, one of the portal kids you got from Georgia. Been around a lot of winning football. They're not happy. He's not happy. Cut two.
What are you supposed to do when you get punched in the mouth sometimes? Put your hands up next time. Learn from it. The season ain't over. It wasn't the last game. We still got plenty more opportunities to prove who we are. We just got to own up to the tape and take advantage of it. That's all.
More from MJ here on the mood at practice.
Once again, how you supposed to respond when you get punched in the mouth? If it was any different, then we frauds. So everybody to come out there with their hard hats and say, okay, we let that one slide, but let's not let another one go.
See, great attitude, but proof it, performance, got to see it Saturday, got to see it more Saturdays. And that's one of those dirty F words, isn't it? Fraud. And as much as this team's been built up at the point where you're at as a Nebraska fan, right? Death taxes Tony White and his defense, man, they're going to be rock solid. 9 of 11 are back. You have depth, you have toughness, you have talent, you have speed, you have physicality. You had a change in the secondary, but you went and got a really well-thought-after secondary coach. Everybody stayed. Death Row's still around, right, with Pot Roast. Dvorak's linebackers have been playing pretty well. And then last Friday happens, not to dwell. But it puts you in a situation as a Nebraska fan where you're uncertain. And there's been uncertainty. There's been buy-in, emotional buy-in, because you love your football team. And you're wondering if it's going to go sideways. And you're wondering if it's going to go sideways. Not again. Not with this guy. Not with this head coach. Not with this coordinator. Not with this team. Not with this quarterback. And it's a little early to go there. But past history, and that sucks to have that baggage attached to this staff, this team, this group of guys. But some of them are crossovers, right? I mean, they just are. So, and that's okay. But it can't be the same thing. It can't be the same result. It can't be the same, oh no, here we air quote go again, because that's how the stadium was. A tense, instead of a house of horrors for Illinois, it was a tense mess. And I get it, because you've seen it before and you want it to be different. And we'll just see if it is different. I thought I thought it was going to be a different year. It still can be, but Illinois gives you pause, and this ball game here, you should listen. 9.5's a gift. Nebraska should go dirt roll this team by 17 to 3 touchdowns.
Well, what they need defensively, the main thing that I circle, and there's been plenty of different ways that this has been said, but like the defense needs to return to that violent chip on their shoulder nature that we've seen. And there were moments that there was a little bit of violence, but the chip on the shoulder wasn't there the past 2 weeks. Like, how many times did you see guys on defense going and lighting up players for UTEP or for Colorado? Like, going and hitting some guy hard just because you have the right to do that on a football field. You didn't see that the past 2 weeks. Like, it even gets down to the goal line that we talked about. Like, how do you stop a tight end leaking out in play action? Well, you're not sure if he's going to block, he's going to run a route. Now you're taking your run fit and he's wide open. Well, if you take on a block like you're supposed to take on a blocker, it's going to knock off their route. Like, there's just things that violence and aggression and playing with a chip on your shoulder can clean up. Well, and it's not the be-all, end-all, but...
You got to play angry last year as a defense. And you got to understand that pressure they talk about being a privilege. You got to understand that, all right, you were doubted as a team and you had a job to do because there was doubt with your offense. You embraced that as the strength. And once that doubt went away after the first 2 weeks, you got pretty comfortable. And see if they make someone else uncomfortable. Mitch Sherman's next.
It's that time.
Psst. Hey, Mitch.
Mitchie, we're looking for you, pal.
Mitch Sherman from The Athletic, talking Big Red.
Unleash the fury, Mitch.
Unleash the fury!
On Hal Varsity Radio.
We'll get to some of your complaints about the game being on Peacock this weekend. First, though, it's Mitch Sherman time to release the fury at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. You can find him, of course, on The Athletic, the Locked On Nebraska pod. Great morning listen for you. Mitch, how we doing? Thanks for a few minutes.
Doing well, Schmidt. How are you?
We're good, man. Weather's all right. Kind of wondering how Saturday is going to go with Nebraska. And you know what? The wounds are still a little bit fresh for some of the fan base from Friday, as you can understand, as you try and move forward to the next game. I know coordinators spoke today, and so did some of the selected seniors, along with Dylan Raiola. And I want to start off with your time around Nebraska football. What was your impression of MJ Sherman today? We heard a little bit from MJ before we brought you on, and he's ready to go hit someone now, right? I mean, did it feel like that?
Yeah, he is expressive, and I think we've seen that from MJ before. We've seen him maybe not with that kind of an edge to him, but he's always someone who wears it on his sleeve. And, you know, I appreciate that about him when he got to Nebraska from Georgia. That was a little bit of the book on him, was that you're going to like him as a person in the media. Like, and that's what we heard from some people who covered Georgia football. And, you know, MJ hadn't had the opportunity to play at Georgia the way that he has at Nebraska, the amount of time, but people down there had gotten to know him a little bit, and you know, his background and his story, and you know, now that we see him as a regular on this defense and hear from him more often, you know, you get the understanding and the sense, like we did today, just about how passionate he is. And you know, I thought that he kind of spoke. This is why he was up there. You know, they had Nash Hutmaker in there too, and of course Tony White, the defensive coordinator. But I think MJ's you know, the feeling that we got from him was one that he's angry about the way it went, but is taking this approach like they're going to find a way. They're committed to finding a way to use that experience to make them better. So. Yeah, you could see it. I think it's good to, you know, hear from some guys who have that edge to them. Like, you want your players. I think if you're a fan, you want the players on this team to really feel that loss. You know, you don't want them to just kind of bounce back from it the next day and like nothing's bothering them. And you could certainly tell it was bothering MJ when he talked today to the media.
Mitch, one of the things that I thought was funny, maybe ironic about his media session today was he talked about how Illinois really came out and punched Nebraska in the mouth. Nebraska didn't punch back, which put a smile on my face because, MJ was the only guy in that field that literally did punch back.
Yeah, and he got 15 yards for it, and he didn't want to talk about that today, which I understand. What do you say? You got flagged 15 yards. It was on a 4th down play, which probably shouldn't have been a first down. I don't think Illinois got the spot on that first down, and I'm surprised that play was reviewed and it was upheld the way that it was. But whatever. They gave him the first down and then tacked on 15 yards, and Illinois ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. So his flag was one of 4 15-yarders that contributed to 17 Illinois points on 3 different drives. And that's, I think where part of the anger and disappointment comes from with this defense and with Matt Rule and Tony White up the chain is that absolutely Nebraska didn't execute in some ways on the defensive side. There was instances of poor tackling. There were instances of missed assignments. There were instances where Illinois just got the better of Nebraska physically. But then there were also times where Nebraska gave away yards, and that was part of it when you talk about that play with MJ Sherman. He acknowledged that was a part of the issue on Saturday, but as I said, didn't want to go into any more about what happened on that play. You could see it on the field, though. He was punching at the ball. I think he was frustrated trying to get the ball out, which is a directive of this defense. But at the moment he was doing it, the play, unfortunately for him, was over.
Mitch Sherman with us from The Athletic, Hal Varsity Radio, at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. So, Mitch, I'm interested to get your why. And Matt Rule talks about, the why generation, explaining why to the kids, the players, the young men. But why do you think it went the way it went for Nebraska's defense?
Well, I'll go back to MJ a little bit, and he talked today about how the Nebraska defense after the first 3 games may have gotten a little bit of a false sense of who they were and got somewhat complacent. He didn't use the word complacent, but that's kind of my interpretation of it. They were satisfied with the way things were going, and they lost a little bit of the edge. And Rule talked somewhat about that on Monday also, in saying that this is part of the process with the team in year 2, and that they're going to experience more success than what they have in this case in the previous year, and for a lot of the guys on this roster in years before that, starting off 3-0, and then you can lose a little bit of what got you to that point because you feel too good about yourselves. And I think that is a bit. It certainly doesn't explain the whole thing. That's a bit of what's going on with this defense, and I think they're committed to recentering themselves and being focused. And I think I get the impression, you can't tell everything from interviews, but I get the impression from talking to those guys and from hearing from Tony White and Matt Rule yesterday, and we'll gauge it more as the week goes on, that they're going to go out and they're going to play with a little bit of a different kind of vibe on Saturday at Purdue. We'll see. It's on the road. You got to bring your own juice. It's not going to be 90,000 people there in the stadium. It probably won't be 40,000 people in that stadium with Purdue coming off of 2 big losses, and Nebraska, I don't think is going to bring tens of thousands of people there. So we'll see if they're able to bring the energy that they're suggesting that they will. It's going to be a big test in that way for this defense. But it's growing pains. It's reading a little bit of their headlines, and then obviously the technical stuff, the tackling issues and other things that the coaches and players have talked about for why they gave up the yards and points that they did.
Mitch Sherman's with us here, and Mitch, whenever you have this game circled, it feels like it's a potential get-right game for Nebraska. If Nebraska's defense gets right on Saturday, how will that look? How do you define that?
I think it would mean shutting down the run. Purdue's a pretty good running team. Devin Mockabee is a big, powerful runner, kind of in the mold that, and he's given Nebraska trouble in the past, but 2 years ago at Purdue, he absolutely did. Last year Nebraska did a good job of standing up to backs who run hard, and Nebraska delivered the hits defensively to those kinds of backs, whether it was Braylon Allen at Wisconsin or Maccabee when Purdue came to Lincoln, or the Iowa running backs when Nebraska played Iowa. The big physical teams, and Michigan's really the only team that just had its way physically with Nebraska last season. And that hasn't really been the case the last couple of games. I realize Nebraska won big against Northern Iowa, but even in that game, those backs were dishing out some punishment against Nebraska, or at least getting through the first level and knifing their way to extra yardage. And you saw that in the second half with Illinois too. So I think that there's a real importance for Nebraska when it goes against another team that has a back who can run the ball like that, to show what it has from a physicality standpoint and run defense. That to me, of course, you can still lose a game. You can still play poorly defensively if you stop the run well. But I think it starts there for Nebraska, and just in developing its physical dominance in this game, and making Purdue stand there and throw the football to get first downs and get points on the board.
Mitch, what do you expect from Nebraska's run game Saturday?
Well, maybe more of a commitment to do it and diversify it a bit. I think we'll see some more Emmett Johnson. I think we're going to continue to see Dante Dowdell and Ramir Johnson in that co-number one spot. But I think if they had it to do all over again with the offensive game plan last week, they'd want to get Emmett Johnson some more touches. And part of that is that Illinois was holding onto the football for long stretches. Nebraska didn't have any traditional 3-and-outs. A couple of series that ended quickly because of turnovers, but there wasn't a 3-and-out and then a punt on the entire day for Illinois. So it kept Nebraska out of its rhythm offensively. I think it kept Marcus Satterfield from being able to call some of the stuff that he wanted, and they had to go with the things that they felt best about. And that was really just Dylan slinging the ball. And Nebraska had a lot of success with that. He threw for 297 yards, but I think for them to be the kind of offense that they want to be, and just to have success in the Big Ten, in spite of all the success, but in spite of the success that Nebraska did have offensively, it still just scored 7 points after halftime in that game. And the way to play complementary football for this team is to run the football. They're going to be able to throw it. And this is like a reverse of what we saw last year when you knew Nebraska could run it. It had to be to be multiple offensively. It had to find a way to throw the ball. Well, it's switched up a little bit because now they have a very good quarterback. And for me, success on offense for Nebraska, whether it's this game or just the more the long term of this season, and you should probably start doing it this game. They got to find a way to move it on the ground.
Mitch, about a minute, bud. We'll get you out. Did Friday surprise you?
Yeah, it did. I didn't expect to see Illinois exert that kind of physicality against Nebraska and kind of flip Nebraska's game plan on the Huskers in the second half. I mean, I'm not shocked that Nebraska lost the game. I didn't think we were looking at a team at any point, even when some of the noise got to the level that it did, that was going to be 7-0 going to Ohio State. I thought Nebraska would probably slip up somewhere. Didn't necessarily expect that it was going to happen on Friday night in the first Big Ten game, but it's not shocking. I think what was a little bit more shocking, as I said, was just that physical nature of it and how Illinois had its way with Nebraska really on both sides of the line of scrimmage as the game got into the fourth quarter and overtime. So, I think some of that's a mentality thing. That this team is strong and they're well-conditioned, and you put them out on the field again against Illinois in another setting and another game plan, and the tables might be turned, but that's not the way it went on Friday. So that was surprising, and I look for Nebraska to bounce back in that area on Saturday in West Lafayette.
Mitch, we'll check in again soon. Appreciate your time as always, man. Thanks for a few minutes.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
There he is, Mitch Sherman with The Athletic at Mitch Sherman on Twitter. Locked On Nebraska Pod. Check his workout as well. Tom Dienhart weighs in on the Boilermakers next hour. Open phones here till 5 with you on Hale Varsity.
And now, back to Hale Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out. Hale Varsity with you on a Tuesday. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Reminder about our friends at Neiman & Sons, family owned since 1981. Family-run company. They specialize in roofing, siding, gutters, and a strong commitment to customer service. Comprehensive services, that means commercial or residential exterior services and community involvement. The Niemans, man, they've been great with youth football for so many years. Trevor and Travis and company. Had a chance to see him this weekend. It was awesome to spend time, and their values reflect their work and, of course, local involvement. So if you're thinking of a roof for your home or business, or you need some siding, some gutters, or Elijah, you're a holiday guy, custom exterior lighting.
Isn't everybody a holiday guy in some way, shape, or form?
I've never put Christmas lights up in my life till now. You
don't like Christmas?
No, I love Christmas. I just hate all the other crap with it.
And that's what, okay.
Gifts.
Yeah. It just sounds strange to like, Elijah, you're a holiday guy. I think everyone likes the holidays for some reason. I do like my Christmas lights, though.
Okay. I'm saying let them blow you out of the water in a great way. Those exterior lightings. Trusted professionals. They're fully licensed, Neiman and Sons. And they build this solid reputation, 40-plus years, quality service, customer trust. Give Neiman and Sons a ring today at 402-423-4853 or just log on, NeimanandSons.com.
Eric asks, will there be a line of Christmas candles, Elijah?
I think
bet your bottom dollar there will be.
I think the peppermint gnome is one you should title.
Well, we're still working on banana bread for the fall. It's been a busy couple of months. We're getting around to that. Banana bread's coming soon.
All right, in the stream or email, Chris@HaleVarsity.com. What about said flavors? What scents?
Hey, they can be flavors too.
What scents do you want from Elijah's Candle Factory?
Yeah, if we're talking
fall?
Christmas, I think the wreath scent is a little played out.
Yeah. What I want to relate this back to the Illinois game. What candle scent would that game have been?
Shame. That's a deep inside joke.
That smells. The scent of shame is Cool Ranch Doritos and Brass Monkey Burp.
Just a little bit of body odor.
Just a little BO. I ran out of Axe spray, and this is what happened. Okay. Eric chimes in. I miss Nebraska getting any kind of quarterback pressure. Red Wine 65. And really, there is nothing to lose. Been years since a bowl. Negative Mike. Mike, you are a man of your word.
Was positive Mike for a couple weeks.
Well, you lose to Illinois as a 9.5-point favorite. You can go back to being negative Mike. They need to start blitzing 50%. And Negative Mike says Sat is going to gas this defense.
I wonder, to marry those two comments with Eric and Mike.
You're scoring points now. Let's whine about how quick they do it.
Well, I'm
not saying you, Mike, but I'm saying that's a thought in my tiny brain.
But he says they need to start blitzing 50% of the time. That is something I've noted. It feels like there's been less blitzing over the past
they've
couple
emphasized a four-man rush. Let's get home with four. Let's get home with four. And
do you think
that's great?
Is that a symptom, do you think, of a lack of trust in the secondary? Based on what we've seen, especially last week with the ability of Altmaier to just dice that back end up, like especially with Tommy Hill on the sideline, is the lack of blitzing a symptom of not trusting that back end?
No, I think there's back end trust. I think there's, who knows? I mean, these guys, as you grin, 12-year-old.
There's a comment in from Brennan here that's making me laugh. Uh-huh. He says, I can confirm Elijah's candles smell great. They might burn your house down, but they smell nice.
Wonderful.
Sorry, back to business.
Back to business. That's funny. No, I think, who knows how smoothly it's gone in game, right? Did you see a lot of checks? Did Coach McBride talk a lot about checks yesterday in his segment with us? Mm-hmm. And he's like, every time you do a check, there's, I forget the exact term he used, but there's potential for miscommunication.
He said every time there's going to be at least one thing that gets screwed up.
Right, yeah. If not more. And how many times did he say that we saw guys looking at each other, hey, I thought, and you saw some miscommunication, right? Especially on Ty Robinson and overtime. He thought someone was coming outside to help set the edge. That's why he went inside. And you had a disagreement with guys on the sideline in the heat of the moment. Linebacker and defensive lineman. It's been talked about quite a bit. So maybe it's not as smooth a transition when you lose your, and I'm not blaming. I'm saying you have a new secondary coach, you have a new coordinator. I mean, those guys haven't worked together. They are professionals. They're really both good at what they do, but it isn't well-oiled yet, possibly.
And that's what I'm saying with the reality of the lack of blitzing. And I don't know that for certain. Eric says if you can't get pressure with 4, isn't that the reason why you bring more? But the question is like, if you don't trust your back end to not bust, like we saw in the first touchdown with Tommy Hill, whether that was a bust or a physical thing, I'm not 100% sure. But like, you bring extra, but if you have a guy standing wide open in the end zone before your pressure gets home, is it going to matter?
No. And
that's the question I have. I don't know this. I haven't dove into the tape and asked
I'm
myself
more
that
concerned
question.
if I'm a Nebraska fan about the tackling. Okay, I mean, it hadn't looked the same since Colorado. I know there's been an emphasis of stripping the football, getting the football out, but you can't not wrap up first to do it. Now, you saw a perfect setup where the guy who made the hit, the second guy stripped the football, the third dude recovered the football. 489-1240. Let's hear from Tony White. And he was asked, we'll get to more Tony here, Mr. Tony, about getting off the field on third down. You know, his response after a game like that. And, his takeaway also for not being the most physical football team. But first to the phones we go. Who's with us?
Tom in Hastings.
Tom, good to have you. Thanks for checking in.
Yes, I really enjoy the show.
Appreciate you, Tom.
My question is why didn't we take the ball when we won the toss going into overtime?
Rule was asked that in the post game, and that's kind of the standard overtime rule.
It's kind of like in baseball, you always want to be batting in the bottom half because you always want to know what you have to do.
That's the reasoning. That's the blueprint for years and years and years. But defense was on the field way too much in the second half.
Right.
The offense did minimal after that touchdown early in the fourth.
Right. I just kind of wondered. It seemed like the offense might have been able to do more going on the field after, when they won the toss, and then let the defense hold them out after that, since they have been on the field so long. But just the question I had.
No, I hear you. But that was his reasoning, and Elijah put it perfectly. Yeah. Tom, thanks much for the call. Appreciate it.
Bet. Sure.
All right. Appreciate you. 489-1240 or 800-825-5865.
The clear advantage being with what your field goal kicking situation is. Mm-hmm. If you're in the first overtime and you have a 4th down and 2 from the 17-yard line, you don't have to make that decision if you already know what you have to do. Well,
the other part of it, and if you're on the line, stay there. We'll get to you here right after the break. But the reality of this is you had the defense make 2 really big plays for you. You get a couple of strips, and you put a 5-minute drive together. You have a great call dialed up on 3rd and 2. Then you jack the field goal, and it's just momentum and mental. We'll wind down hour 1 on Hal Varsity.
Hal Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point at you, yeah.
On Hal Varsity Radio.
Back with you, Hal Varsity, winding down hour 1. Michael Bruntz coming up here at 5:05. Tom Dienhart with On3GoldandBlack.com. What kind of a tire fire is Purdue? We'll dive in there. Chance, thanks for hanging tight. Go ahead.
Like I told the guy to answer the phone, I just got in and listened to the radio. Penalties. I think we beat that team by 2 touchdowns if they would just clean up their penalties. They've done a good job in the first 3 games, and the penalties were so bad, and they're making. These boys are not boys now. They're men. They're making men money, so they got to put their big boy pants on. When you make a pre-snap penalty, you get fined. on a scale. In a year, you give the money
Chance,
to
I love
charity.
it. Chance, I love it. You want to introduce fines, the kangaroo court into the locker room. I love it. Now,
And,
they were a little bit
pros do that.
undisciplined in the second half against Colorado. That was a ref show a little bit, but it was still problematic. Yeah, you hope the composure factor creeps back in for Nebraska.
The personal fouls, I mean, you got to play aggressive, but you also got to play smart.
No, don't disagree.
It's walking the edge, but you got to do it. But the pros do that. The pros get fined like $500. At least they did in Tennessee when I was there, and the Titans, and I heard they give them money to charity. So
that's a tax write-off.
Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Thanks, Chance. Appreciate it. I'm serious.
One reason for guys to not get fined. Fines are a tax.
You're going to get fined. Our last missed talking to him, Ralph Brown. Ralph would wear his socks wrong when he was in Cleveland to help offset. Yeah, man, it's a tax write-off.
On that note, he does bring up a great point, though, with the penalties. There were some bonehead penalties.
It was frustration.
I mean,
why is this not going the way it's supposed to go?
We brought up this hour already with MJ with the punching, and I understand you're trying to get the ball back, but it's 4th and 1. Why are you punching out a football on 4th and 1 when you may have stopped him short?
Let me answer that, and it's not the right answer, but it's the answer. You just screwed us on a spot. I'm talking.
Well, he's in the pile. He doesn't know where the spot is.
Well, here's the.
That's what's boneheaded about it.
Here's the reality about that play. You had 3 zebras staring at him doing it, and the guy seeing the motion 3 yards out, the clown that threw the flag.
Well, it was a flag.
That's fine, but why didn't the 3 guys 2 feet from MJ throw it then?
Fair.
I mean, legit.
I'm not complaining about the refereeing from the game. A lot of people have. I'm not complaining about the refereeing.
Didn't help.
It didn't help, but
it didn't matter other than that's a flag in the end zone. Okay?
On the pass interference?
Yeah. You don't think so?
I think it is.
If you're going to call Nebraska for 2 DPIs later in the game,
the one that stands out to me is the Sierra Wright flag. That
garbage.
Was bad. That was bad.
That was garbage.
That's the one flag that stands out to me.
You're call that,
bad.
but you're not calling end zone leg humping. I mean, come on, man.
See, I give him that one because
that was a flag.
Nair was fighting back with his hands as well. So I'm not going to complain about the refs.
He didn't start it.
Don't be an idiot on 4th and 1 with a chance to get the ball back. Why are you even punching at the ball when the guy's laying on the ground? Why are you Malcolm Hartzog grabbing a face mask and twisting it when the guy's knee's damn near already on the ground?
Remember. All right, we'll talk to Bruntz coming up here on Hale Varsity.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hale Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back with you, it's Hour 2. It's Hale Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. We welcome in with Husker 24/7 Sports, Michael Bruntz, at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. As baseball season is winding down and the diehard Oakland A's fan in the state, perhaps in the Midwest, Michael Bruntz is with us. And Elijah, you sent me a screenshot of a dubious Oakland hat. I sent it to Bruntz. Bruntz, you didn't purchase one of these, did you?
No, I can't say what I texted you, right? Because since we're on the air.
It's the A bleep bleep hat.
Yeah, I have a picture of the hat. I'll pull it up here for the stream.
Yeah, folks in the stream, Hale Varsity YouTube, Hale Varsity Radio, Twitter can see it.
Check out this beauty.
Yeah. No, that's not the first one of those I've seen associated with the A's this week. So the team owner is also one of those A's hats.
Yes, yes.
And this isn't even like Photoshop. This is a legit hat that you can go online and buy. I went and found the page. Only $36.99.
It harkens back to the bad mid-'90s giant graphics lids that were out there and some of us thought were cool.
Yeah, there were probably a lot of kids at Kiewit Middle School back in the late 90s wearing a Phoenix Suns or a Charlotte Hornets hat like that. Thought they were pretty cool. I was probably one of them. So
Who did you like on Phoenix or Charlotte?
Well, it was back in the day. I mean, that was back when like the Hornets were kind of cool. They had Grandma Ma and Alonzo
okay.
and Bugsy Bogues.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but no, I was a Bulls fan growing up because kids these days don't understand that you basically had like one team on weeknights, and if it's usually you got Michael and the Bulls on Saturday, so yeah, that you kind of had to be a Bulls fan in some way.
WGN did a marvelous job of one midweek game, one weekend game, and let's play how many scotches Johnny Red Kerr had before the broadcast.
There was probably some Malort flowing back in those days, I would guess.
Well, and it's interesting because now people of my generation, if you can get a little bit creative, you can watch any game that you want. You can watch anything from every NBA game to Chinese ping pong. So you can find it online. It's out there. And that's where I'm going now, Bruntz, with this Nebraska-Purdue game on Peacock this weekend. How many Husker fans out there do you think are going to get a little creative finding ways to watch this one?
Did we tick him off?
No. I realized that Bruntz couldn't hear me for that last question.
There you go.
Repeat.
There we go. Let's try it again. Yeah.
Right. We were discussing just creative ways that people can watch sports nowadays. All across. I mean, you can watch any NBA game you want. How creative do you think people get this weekend with Nebraska's game being on Peacock?
Yeah, there's probably a very an illicit stream that's probably going to be pretty popular, I would guess. The other thing about, like, people used to pay for pay-per-view for these games like 10 or 15 years ago, like it's $5. It was like $39.95 or whatever to watch Nebraska play Akron many moons ago. So I get it. I get people don't want to stream it or whatever, but Peacock's got the old Royal Rumbles on there. They got old WrestleMania. I mean, you'll get your $5 worth. Don't I'm not shilling for them. I don't get kickbacks, but other people can make it work.
Mama and Junior love The Office. I'm fairly certain one of the dogs ate his Office DVD set. So we have Peacock now. So they can get their Office fixed.
See, they love The Office. I personally love viruses on my computer. So
okay,
yeah, that's how I'm going to figure it out.
And your computer's, a dead laptop walking. So
yeah,
nothing I love more than pop-up ads with beautiful women.
Elijah, phone me. So interested here.
Did you know, Schmitty, that there's singles in your area?
I did not.
I get the pop-up ads every day.
Celebrating 21 years on Friday. Let me investigate. So, last thought here, and we'll actually get to some football. Interested to get did you win the argument to get the pay-per-view for Akron or Oklahoma back in the day when they were banned from TV, or did you just go to that buddy's house and stiff him, never pay for it?
No, so I wasn't living in Nebraska at the time. Like late Big 12 era was when it felt like that was really back when that was really humming along quite a bit. Like even some like Texas Tech games, I feel like were pay-per-view at times. But you used to go to the alumni bar, and then they'd pass the hat, and you'd do it that way. But
awesome.
Yeah, I mean it was me and like all the 85-year-old guys out in the Bay Area sitting there watching late Big 12 era football.
I love it, man. You and Vince Ferragamo kicking it. I think it was well played.
I did see a Vince Ferragamo jersey at the stadium on Friday night, which I thought was interesting.
Did it say Ferragamo on back?
Yeah.
Okay, making sure.
Was it actually Vince? Was he there?
I didn't check. It was a middle-aged man.
Okay.
That's about all. I don't know what Vince Ferragamo looks like nowadays.
Vince
honestly
can still sling it. Bruntz, what's the listenership and readership with you guys? What's the split been? Has it been more concern or overreaction to Friday?
I think it's probably there's some concern. I mean, I think anytime you have an area of the field that you're kind of hoping was going to be the strength of your team, and then it's not, I think that kind of brings in a little doubt and concern. I get that. Certainly the special teams struggles being what they are. I mean, I think that's cause for concern too. So It's been kind of a back and forth. I think, the defense is probably the biggest area of concern, though. I mean, you saw how Nebraska kind of got pushed around in that game up front. Didn't really have the big splash plays that you were hoping for, and some kinds of mistakes that were just, frankly, busts. I mean, that's what they were. And so I think there's some concern there. And I think, the only way that you can kind of show that it was maybe more of a fluke than a trend, I think, is to go out and play good football on Saturday at Purdue. So we'll see if Nebraska's up to the test, but I do think there was, a little bit of bubble popping probably with the way Nebraska played at times in that game against Illinois. I mean, I think people were okay with offensive struggles or trying to find themselves a little bit there, but, the way the defense played is certainly a little bit of a concern there.
Bruntz, what's your concern with Nebraska just going on the road in general this week, going and playing in West Lafayette? I know it's homecoming. I don't know how into it their crowd is going to be, but you have a pretty good home field advantage that's been pushing you through the first 4 games of the year. We've had Brett Bielema on his radio show this morning saying he thought Nebraska's environment was tougher than what they're going to face at Penn State this weekend. I mean, that's what kind of home field advantage Nebraska's had to start this season. What's your take on how Nebraska's going to be able to handle going on the road, playing in front of fans in West Lafayette that are either going to be against you or they're not going to be caring? Either way, it's not going to be a supportive environment for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think either way, regardless of, column A or column B from what you just said, I mean, I think it's going to be a kind of bring your own energy kind of game. I mean, it's a Purdue team that's really gotten their butts kicked the last couple weeks, for lack of a better term. And, I don't think there's going to be a ton of excitement for an 11 a or a noon kick there, 11 a.m. here. I mean, I just think, Nebraska's going to have to kind of worry about itself and take care of business and take care of themselves. So, I can see on one hand where, you'd like to have the home field advantage and bounce back. At the same time, I mean, I think, Nebraska under Matt Rule has kind of tried to embrace this, we're going on the road, we're, it's us against the world kind of thing and just be together. And I think, maybe a little bit of a different stimulus might do a team well coming off of the performance they had against Illinois.
Michael Bruntz with us, Husker 24/7 Sports, at Michael Bruntz on Twitter, Nebraska, Purdue. Have you made a determination on Illinois? And let's also stay with Nebraska. How good do you think Nebraska is? How good do you think Illinois is? And I'm not asking as a comparison, but just as you play it out, have you reassessed the outlook for Nebraska? And do you think Illinois is still a 7-5 squad or 6-6?
Yeah, I think Illinois is probably a little bit better than what I gave them credit for going into that game. I mean, I think there's kind of a recipe of Bielema ball in some ways where, a lot of what you saw that Nebraska had struggles with defensively in that game were kind of, they were playing the hits, It was a lot of formation shifts, guys coming in and out of the game. They were, wearing the heck out of the tight ends. And so, I think he's got a team that will be able to play pretty closely to how he wants to play. And, I haven't dug into the rest of Illinois' schedule. Maybe I should have, but, I mean, it feels like a team that's going to be able to win some kind of Big Ten Westy games that, and you know what I'm talking about, the 24-20, maybe not the most aesthetically pleasing games, but at the end of the 60 minutes, Illinois is going to be on top. And I did not give Altmaier the kind of credit I think that he maybe deserves for a start this season. As far as Nebraska, I mean, I don't think things have really changed. I mean, I kind of had Nebraska slipping up in that window of games from Illinois to, maybe the trip to Indiana. So, we'll see if it's, like I said, we're going to wait and see if it's a trend with Nebraska or if it was just kind of a one-off.
It's Michael Bruntz with us here. And Bruntsy, are you feeling a trend with the Husker defense with how UNI was able to attack them, how Illinois was able to attack them? Is that starting to become a trend in your eyes?
I'm eager to see, the things that Nebraska's not doing well right now on defense are going to get you beat on the ground. I mean, the tackling has not been what it was a year ago. I think they have not rotated nearly enough as and as much as maybe I expected they would along that defensive front. I mean, it feels like if you could find a way to get Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher, maybe like 10 to 15 fewer snaps, I mean, I think you would probably take that recipe a little bit versus what we saw against Illinois. So, we'll see against Purdue. I mean, Purdue's got a good running back. I think they've got at least the ability to create big plays in the running game, and Nebraska's going to have to tackle and rally well to the ball. I mean, that's something that I've been a little bit surprised that has been a little bit suspect this year, especially considering the number of veterans and returners that they had from a year ago. It's something they've really got to kind of figure out really quick here, because you just can't keep giving up the yardage that they are early in possessions and expect to win games.
Michael Bruntz with us here, Husker 24/7 Sports, at Michael Bruntz on Twitter. This is critical, isn't it? Even before Columbus, this stretch, you've got Purdue, you've got Rutgers, you've got Indiana, got a bye mixed in there, and then you go to Ohio State, and then there's November with UCLA. Does Nebraska need to win out here before they get to Ohio State, or can they play better but maybe not be the better team before they get to Columbus?
Well, I mean, I think on paper, I think they should be the better team in every one of those games. I mean, it's just a matter of whether or not Nebraska can make plays. I mean, I think, at least from what I was able to see against Illinois, I thought Matt Rule actually diagnosed it pretty well with what's going on with this team. I mean, at some point, you need a guy to make a play. I mean, you can coach it, but you need the punt to go to the correct side of the field. Like, you need guys to make tackles. You need guys to play their assignments. Like, that's what it's going to be, I think, for Nebraska between now and that trip to Columbus, is whether or not they can kind of iron out these kinks that they have. And if they do, I think they'll be okay. I mean, I think Nebraska would have been okay the other night against Illinois if you just make a few more plays. So, I think the offense is trending in the right direction. You've got to find a way to get the defense and the special teams going in the right direction now too. And I think they'll be okay. But, it's going to be, a couple of similar games here with Purdue and Rutgers, where Nebraska is going to have to show up along the fronts. I think they're probably better than both of those groups, but if you let those two teams hang around long enough, I mean, they've got athletes and they can beat you. So Nebraska just has to take care of its own business.
Michael, is there a game that you circle down the stretch of this season that is the litmus test for what Nebraska can get to? For me, it's can Nebraska get to 8? That's kind of the question for me this season. Is there a game that you circle as a litmus test? Because Illinois was the first test. We may not have seen that last week, but we know now that was the first test, and it's fitting considering that was the first Big Ten game. What games do you look at down the stretch of the season that you circle and say, that's the test if Nebraska is good enough to get to 8 or not?
Yeah, there's a number of coin toss games. Illinois was one of them. I don't think Purdue is one, but Rutgers can be with the way that they play. Indiana, I think, is it's in that pool of games now too. Wisconsin probably. I mean, that pool of games, and it's Nebraska's always had these in the Big Ten, where it's like you take 4 games on the schedule. You say you got to win a certain number of these to get where you want to get to. And in the past, Nebraska just has not won enough of those games from that pool to do anything. And to me, it's probably later in the season, but the Wisconsin feels like a team that will be a pretty good indication of where Nebraska's at this year. They've got athletes. They're it feels like in the same way Nebraska's kind of trying to find themselves a little bit. It feels like Wisconsin is as well. But, because it's later in the season, I kind of hesitate to say it's that specific game. But, I mean, that pool of games are where Nebraska just needs to play good football and they should be okay. And that's the test in my mind is forget what the other team's going to do. Can Nebraska just come play consistent, complimentary football?
Bruntz, be good. We'll talk soon. Thanks for the time.
Anytime, guys. Thanks a lot.
And now, back to Hale Varsity Radio.
Back into it at Hale Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Tom Dienhart with us here as we talk Purdue, Nebraska. You can find him with Purdue And, Tom, it's good to spend a few minutes with you, man. Big Red coming to West Lafayette. It's not been a great spot for him. How are you?
Doing good, yeah. Big game for both these teams, right, Chris? I mean, Husker's coming off their first loss, hitting the road for the first time, Big Ten opener. My goodness, for Purdue, boy, this is a nadir of sorts, and a lot of people are left wondering sort of what the direction of this program is, and we're only about 15 games deep into Ryan Walters' tenure, so things have hit a critical juncture here.
Let's talk about that comfort level real quick with Walters. And, I mean, the guy was incredible as a coordinator at Illinois. And from your observation and the time you've been spending with goldenblack.com, seeing this program, what was the cupboard like after, some really high years at Purdue? What did he inherit?
He didn't hear much. That's been well chronicled. But, Chris, in this day and age with the portal, it's not like you're handcuffed to these guys. We all know you can go out and you can flip these rosters over pretty quick, right? And that's exactly what he's done. I'm just going off the top of my head, but I think he's probably brought in at least 50 or 60 players in the last 2 years. Over half the roster is his. So between recruits, high school, and portal guys and junior college players. So, again, the old days of 4 and 5 year plan are out the window with the portal now and the way you can flip your roster. So, I don't know. There's, nobody expected great things this year, okay? The schedule was very difficult. Notre Dame, Oregon, Wisconsin, Penn State, Ohio State. One of the toughest kind of schedules in the Big Ten. A bowl game would have been a heck of a feat just to get to 6 wins, but people thought, maybe 4 or 5 win season, and at least be competitive, right? Mm-hmm. And they have not really been competitive. I mean, you throw out the Indiana State game, the opener. The Notre Dame game was an absolute abomination. The worst loss in school history, 66-7. It was over in the first quarter. And then last week, you go up to Oregon State, a program that was gutted by the portal itself after the Pac-12 blew up, program that was ditched by its own head coach. He ran away to get to take the Michigan State job. And they won 38-21. And there's problems on both sides of the ball. You just wonder how deep the problems run here. And like I said, could this team be looking at a 1-11 season? I don't know. You hate to start shoveling dirt on somebody, and it's only the 4th game of the year, but like I said, this looks like a steep hill to climb this year.
Tom Dienhart's with us here at goldenblack.com. And Tom, discuss some of the transfer portal additions, junior college additions that Ryan Walters has made. The one that stands out is Hudson Card. He's a guy that I thought was going to be really good at quarterback for this Purdue team. Hasn't quite had the season that I thought he was going to have. From your view, what has gone wrong for Hudson Card in the Purdue offense this year?
Yeah, it's been abysmal as far as passing the football goes. Last week, 57 yards passing, and the lowest they've had since 2010. He's had time to throw for the most part. The Notre Dame game, last week he had time to throw. The receiving corps has been a disappointment. I'll be honest with you. And they're missing arguably their 2 best receivers. They didn't play last week, and they're not going to play against Nebraska either. Jamal Edrin, kid from Florida Atlantic, and a kid from Georgia named C.J. Smith. Somebody's got to step up at receiver. And Card has been off, too, I'll be honest. I think there's always plenty of blame to go around when things aren't going well. It's never any one reason, I don't think. But he's got some culpability in it as well. The one thing they've been able to do, guys, is run the football. And they were able to do it last year, if you can believe this. In Big Ten games, Purdue was the number 1 rushing offense in the conference last year. And they're off to a decent start running the ball here this year, too. So, that's one thing they're going to try to hang their hat on, I think, Saturday. Give the ball to Devin Mockabee, give the ball to Reggie Love, and maybe if they get some traction, that'll open up some room in the passing game.
Well, they're getting a team that isn't Nebraska-like. If you look a year ago with how well Nebraska played the run, Northern Iowa did a little bit of damage, didn't look like it on the scoreboard, and we know what Illinois did on Friday night, especially in the second half. And that's a big question around here, Tom, is how's Nebraska going to respond defensively, specifically, against the run? It kind of been called out by themselves. You don't ever like to be shown as the least physical team on the football field, but that's what it was Friday night. So I anticipate Nebraska having an edge. That said, I don't know if they'll answer the bell when it comes to adversity because they have yet to do it.
I know there's a lot of pride out there in Lincoln, especially playing physical football. And, yeah, I mean, Illinois, Brett Bielema, you guys have seen him a lot over the years, and he loves to punch in the nose with running the football. Very heavy offense, so they're going to test you. And Nebraska didn't pass that test in the second half, especially. They got worn down. And you're right, man, Chris. This is what life's all about. How do you respond to adversity? And here comes Nebraska, got punched in the nose. Very disappointing loss on Friday night. I'm sure they thought they were going to win. Now they got to go on the road. How are they going to respond? They probably think they're going to kick Purdue's rear end. There's some struggles here, but again, you just don't know, right? We don't know. This game from week to week can drive you crazy with trying to figure out how things are going to play out. So it's going to be interesting to see, right? I'm fascinated to see this young quarterback, Dylan Raiola. I know you guys got some good receivers. The kid from Wake Forest, the kid from Texas. You got 3 good backs. And I tell you what, the Purdue defense, they can't stop the bleeding when it comes to the run. They cannot set the edge. I mean, it was just like they were taking tickets against Notre Dame and Oregon State. Those teams ran for over 300 yards. So, I mean, Nebraska's watching film. Matt Rule's watching film. And they're going to make Purdue stop the run. We'll see if Purdue can do it.
You would think there was a game way back when, Tom, about 20 years ago, different coach, different era, but Nebraska was on the road at Iowa State. This is the Callahan era, and the old Cyclones had the worst. Might have been Kansas. Sorry, it was Kansas pre-Mangino, and KU had the worst run defense in the country, and poor old Zach Taylor slinging it 60 times, man. So if you got a coordinator who loves to throw it with a 5-star, might be bombs away this Saturday.
Well, that's the thing. That quarterback, I mean, he's really looked good. That's no news to you and your listeners. It looks like he's going to live up to the hype. You guys got a special young man there. And, boy, the balance that offense could have. Mm-hmm. I know none of the running backs have ever had a 100-yard game there. But you got 3 good ones. And, again, my point being, looks like you could have balance. I think someone told me today the left tackle's hurt.
Yes.
Got hurt for Nebraska. So, again, everybody can whine you about the injuries and sing you their sad song. Everybody's got to deal with them, right? Mm-hmm. But my point, again, is that offense for Nebraska looks like it's got some weapons. And it could really tax a Purdue defense that has just had its head on a swivel for 2 weeks here, especially, like I said, when it comes to stopping the run. We'll see if they do anything different this week, if there's any personnel changes. I don't know. You can look over your shoulder at the bench and you go, who are we going to put in? There's only so much you can do personnel-wise. Will they try to do things differently schematically? I don't know, guys, but this is when head coaches and coordinators earn their money, right? Mm-hmm. Figuring things out, trying to adjust on the fly to get everything back on track. It's going to be a heck of a test for this Purdue defensive staff on Saturday, I think.
Tom Dienhart's with us here previewing Nebraska, Purdue. And Tom, you mentioned a little bit earlier, life's all about responding to adversity. I think you're on the money with that one. A piece of adversity here for Nebraska for Dylan Raiola is it's the first road game of the season, the first road game of Dylan Raiola's career. Take me through, what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like Saturday morning in West Lafayette?
It's going to be sold out. It's homecoming. A noon start. Crowd might be a little bit late arriving just because of those noon starts. Everybody likes to tailgate a little bit longer. Sometimes students straggle in, but it should be a sellout. And it'll be loud. But, again, there's already been a lot of grumbling. You ought to see our message boards. They've already started hot boards, for coaching search. You know that crowd. They got their torches lit.
We do.
All too familiar, actually.
Every 4 years, brother.
It's like the end of the Frankenstein movie. But
villagers.
So, yeah, the fans, the honeymoon probably. I can safely say the honeymoon's over. I think that's probably clear at this point. And just a lot of disappointment. I think. Again, not lose. Nobody's disappointed you lose to Notre Dame, but they're disappointing when you lose in historic fashion to Notre Dame and look so non-competitive. And last week was so much on one. How's Purdue going to respond? How's Purdue going to respond? They go out to Corvallis, and they got beat pretty easily. I'll be honest with you, 38-21. A monster disappointment.
I'm interested to see if the quarterback run game's been so effective, how much Heinrich Harburg Nebraska will put in the play sheet for Saturday.
So they got some series for him. They think they're going to use him.
He's been in. I don't know if they unveil it, but he's been in.
He's done a little bit of everything. Taking snaps at quarterback. He has a rush on the year. He has a catch on the year. A little bit of everything is the role for him.
Oh, okay. He's kind of like that guy the Saints had a couple years ago from BYU. Yeah. I tell you what, I was out in Lincoln last year. I saw that guy beat Purdue. Nebraska was begging to get beat, and Purdue couldn't do it. My advice to you, play the kid, because Purdue's really struggled to stop the quarterback run. Even last year, they struggled to stop the quarterback run. So if I'm Nebraska, maybe bring that kid in on 3rd and 1, or just as a change of pace. And if you got to pick up some short yardage on something, why not? Make Purdue try to defend their quarterback run, because they really have struggled and shown they cannot do it.
Tom Dienhart with us, Hal Varsity, goldandblack.com on 3. We're going to do a little overtime with Tom as we're up against it here. Couple of things to think about for Friday. Come see us at Ameristar, 4 to 6 road show just across the river in Council Bluffs. Ameristar right out in front of Amerisports, the sports book and bar. Can't wait for that, as we'll be at Ameristar and Amerisports coming up here Friday, 4 to 6 road show Friday. And Elijah, Dane Cook, brother, going to be at the Steelhouse coming up the 29th. We'll have a pair of tickets to give away Friday for Dane Cook. So listen for your chance at that. Find us at Ameristar. More with Tom Dienhart with Hale Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hale Varsity Radio.
Tom Dienhart with us on 3blackandgold.com, as he's been a man in West Lafayette for quite a while. You've seen the Big Ten for a long time as well, Tom, as we wind down here, bud. And surprises to you so far in the Big Ten, and I guess some disappointments. Who's underdelivered for you?
I think USC losing last week was a colossal disappointment. I think they needed a win in Ann Arbor. And it sounds funny to expect somebody to go win in Ann Arbor, but I think under the circumstances, they were supposed to win that game and didn't. So that was a disappointment, I think. Oregon's won, but not looked super impressive. God, I'm just running through my head so far. You know, Indiana's 4-0, right? But who have they beat? But still, it's nice to be 4-0. I don't think there's been anything on the extreme, really, has there? Saw the Iowa game last week. Iowa's offense has some life. That's been good for them. You know, Nebraska, I always kind of wonder how good they are, but boy, it's been nice for you guys thus far, and it's just good for college football if they can get amped back up here. But yeah, I guess I'm just running through my head.
What do you think of Illinois?
Illinois, that's a good one. Illinois, right there. I actually went over for the Kansas game because Purdue was off that week, and I thought Kansas should have won that game. But credit Illinois, man. They found a way. The KU quarterback really struggling. They got about three turnovers, made some stops, scored a defensive touchdown. So that may be one of the bigger surprises in the conference. They're ranked. You guys saw them. Yeah,
well, that's my question. I don't know how good Nebraska is. I don't know how good Illinois is. They're at Penn State this weekend. That'll be a not only an eye test, but a on paper test. But is Illinois 8-win good? Are they 7-5? Are they better? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what their schedule's like, but Luke Altmaier looks like he's solid at quarterback still. You know that offense. They want to pound you. And the defense, Aaron Henry's doing a nice job over there running that scheme. So, yeah, nobody really knows yet, do we? We're getting to that point where you get to 4 or 5 games into the season. You got obviously bigger bodies at work, see what people are all about. But, hey, man, they've checked the boxes and taken care of what's been in front of them. And, man, to go out to Lincoln on a Friday night and they win in overtime, one of the most impressive wins of this short Big Ten season, I think.
Yeah, Tom, after today, it's fully Purdue, but one more thought I have on Illinois is just we're going to find out a lot about them over the next month. They have a tough next 4 games. But
who they got after Penn State?
Yeah, I'll pull it up here. But as we discuss Illinois, like one thing I'll say about them is it says something if you have a team that has had opportunities to lose 2 games against 2 good teams, I think in Nebraska and Kansas, and they're able to pull victory from the jaws of defeat and find a way. That's Bielema for you. Yeah. That says something. And after Penn State, they do have Purdue, but then they follow it up with Michigan at home and then on the road against Oregon. So we're going to find out a lot over the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. And it'll be fun. They got nothing to lose, right? So they'll let it all hang out. But it's a pretty simple formula for Bielema. Yeah, my guy Purdue's got to go over there. That's right in a couple of weeks, and Bielema would just love to pound Ryan Walters.
Yeah,
I've seen Brett when Brett was at Wisconsin. Brett would hang up like 60, 70 points on Purdue. I mean, he has no compassion for anybody. He's going to make you stop. I mean, so I mean that's going to be. We'll see what happens in Champaign in a couple of weeks when Purdue goes over there because Purdue beat him last year over here.
Well, there's a lot of revenge tour going on for old Brett with Nebraska. He circled that. He was PO'd that they lost a year ago to Nebraska. Walters, is gone, and there's a few Illini guys that went with him, and I'm sure that's a long memory for Brett. And then, Franklin got stung by Bielema that first year in overtime. So it's a little bit of a... it's a new year, new team. College. Yeah. And then
remember again. There was a game with Wisconsin last year where he was all hacked off about them using an offensive tackle to catch a pass. He didn't think checked in the game properly. So Brett's got a long memory, man. Brett doesn't forget.
Then he used it again Friday. They scored a big guy touchdown against Nebraska.
And maybe this is recency bias.
Brett did. Okay.
Yeah. He put that in the back pocket.
The 330-pounder catching a touchdown pass, and Husker Nation collectively puts their face in their palms.
They were looking. By that time of the ball game, there were no full bottles left.
Those out in the parking lot are kicked under their seats there.
They were empty.
I will say this is not advice. This is just how I'm feeling. But Illinois is currently a 17.5-point underdog against Penn State this weekend. I don't know if Bielema should ever be a 17.5-point favorite. I think he's a damn good football coach.
Yeah,
I'll take Illinois in the points there. We'll see where the line's at when kickoff comes.
Well, yes, the folks in Madtown, they would tell you something different.
Hey, real quick. Last I saw, Nebraska's given about 9 points this weekend. Is that what you guys still see?
Saw 9.5, and
okay.
You guys, how much rain y'all gonna get Saturday?
We got some today. I've not seen what the forecast looks like for the weekend yet. I haven't looked, but it was raining this morning, and they had to practice indoors when we came over there to move inside. So I got to look and see what that extended forecast is. I know that does you no good right now, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see what it's like.
Tom, appreciate you much. Great to chat. Thanks for a few minutes with us.
Be good, guys. Take care.
Good to hear from Tom Dienhart, goldandblack.com, inside Big Ten action in Purdue. Speaking of fat guy touchdowns, Tony White talked a little bit today about overtime touchdown, goal line mishaps, cut 3.
Yeah, that's 100% on me. The guys will tell you that's on them and all that stuff, but that's on me. They had a really good goal line scheme. We didn't show them where they run out to the line of scrimmage, and they had the big body, and then he was going back and forth between 75 and 94, and didn't spot him, so they didn't cover him on the 4th and 2. Should have been our ball, and then on the goal line, they ran up and they hid their wide receiver right up behind the center, and then they snuck him out there. And Gift saw him, and he got picked. So again, good scheme by them. Did not show them all the trickeration down there in the goal line. So when that stuff happens, the first person to blame is myself. For not showing them that exact look. But it's now how are we going to respond to those things, because you put it on tape, so now you're going to see that kind of stuff. So you can bet we're working on that stuff.
Let's squeeze in, how did he and the defense take not being the most physical? Cut 6.
Yeah, again, that's why they went out there today and wanted to compete. That was the thing. And again, I know there's a lot to it, but I put it on myself because you're calling the game in the first half and you're telling them, hey, you guys aren't going to run the ball, and they're not running the ball. They're not running the ball. It was really the third downs that kept the flipping the field and kept them on there and all the plays and stuff after that first drive touchdown. And then, you change it and say, hey, let me go after the quarterback a little bit more, and all those seams open up, and now you're like, okay, now you're kind of playing chess with the guy and stuff like that. So, half of that is on me, and then half of it is making sure that, again, we put those guys in those positions to go make plays, and that we got to give them the confidence to go out there and play, man. They're not going to always be 100%, but the prideful thing about that is guys play so damn hard and so damn physical that they make up for those errors. And just didn't feel like that chip on the shoulder, that edge was there like that. So
we'll have a couple more thoughts from Tony White as we wind down a Tuesday. Good stuff from Tom Dienhart. Hale Varsity is powered by Cornhead Lager. Get the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, where you can find it. Also, Hale Varsity YouTube, like and subscribe there. Some final thoughts when we come back.
And now, back to Hale Varsity Radio.
One final time, it's Hale Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Thanks to all of you for chiming into the stream. Coach Brandon and Justin, some thoughts here. He says, Justin says, they practice indoors. Weak. Talking about Purdue in the rain. We'll see who plays better in the rain potentially. How about contact and yards after contact? More from Tony White.
Yeah, same deal. Again, you see, Coach says, tracking near hip, dominant contact. That showed up consistently, and it's guys just not cutting loose. They have a guy lined up, and they don't quite trust it, so then they start trying to cut a guy off, and then the guy cuts back on you and gains an extra 4, 5, 6 yards. So just all things that you got to go back and say, are we working at enough? Are we emphasizing enough? And are we demanding it enough? And so, we started yesterday, and with the emphasis on trying to fix those things.
Confidence, man, Elijah. This team needs to go win it'd be cool if you're a gambler for Nebraska to go win and cover, but maybe the best thing for this team is to go win like a 3-point ball game on the road.
Well, it's that balance between confidence and ego. Because I think this team built confidence through the first 3 games, but I think they also built a bit of an ego.
Well, but when it got tight, they didn't play real loose.
Well, that could come down to there's a difference between having an ego and having confidence, Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely. For sure. Last thought here from Coach White here. He doesn't think guys are trying to do too much, though.
I think it was just, again, the execution. Like I said, the first play of the game against the same call, 1 or 2 yard gain. They come back, run very similar run in overtime, and it's for 20-something yards. It's just the consistency of execution. And Coach has laid down 3 things that he just wants this team to play with. He wants to take the ball away. We want to be the most physical team, and we want to execute. And so when you don't do 2 of those things, it's going to be hard to play good defensive football, especially with what the guys are doing on offense. We got the freshman QB over there balling his ass off. You scored 24 points. You need to help his ass. So that's on the defense.
Reminder to get buckled up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives, prevents injuries only if properly worn. Make it click. A message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Roadshow Friday, Ameristar in Council Bluffs. Ameristar Council Bluffs Casino, Amerisports, the sports book. We will be bellied up and ready to talk some Nebraska, Purdue, and NFL and all that good stuff with just an awesome setup. We were there right before the Nebraska-Texas A&M game for basketball in the NCAA tournament. So
don't ask about our parlay from that day.
No, we took a picture to prove it. we'll lay some more heat. We'll just be better this time.
Or you could just use it as a strategy because our parlay was perfectly
How perfect
wrong.
is it with the forecast in Clausburn coming up to be right at the sports book?
That's what I'm saying. I think we lock in the Hale Varsity Radio parlay of the day. And everybody else can just pick exactly the opposite of what
and
we
we'll
pick.
do what Bruntz we used to do out in the Bay Area. They'll just pass the hat so we can put it down. That's pretty good. Also, we'll give away some Dane Cook tickets. He's at the Steelhouse the 29th towards the that's Sunday show at the Steelhouse. So your chance at a pair of Dane Cook tickets. No bowling for you. What's on the agenda? Are you going to go pick out your outfit, your walk-up outfit for tomorrow?
No, I think I'm going to get caught up on the Rings of Power series on Amazon. Been a couple episodes back. Probably make myself some dinner.
You do that. All right. Thanks to all of you for checking us out on the stream. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play for the pod. Hale Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.